Hi, I'm Carrie Malik and this is Duncan, and we are going to show you the Equissage massage sequence today. So we're going to start out by just doing some gentle cat paw stroke on the head and neck. Just introduce ourselves to the pet. And then I'm going to treat a point just right behind the ears with direct pressure. And anytime that I do direct pressure, it's going to be in a sequence of 10 seconds at light pressure, backing up to 0, 15 seconds at moderate pressure, and backing up to 0, and then 20 seconds at heavy pressure and backing back up to 0. And I'm going to find any pressure points that need to be treated by feeling for any points of reactivity, muscle tension, tightness, just any points that seem like they need some work and to be released a little bit. So after I treat that point behind the ear to calm my patient here, then I'm going to palpate the top line along one side of the spine from the base of the ears to the tail. One pass at light pressure, one pass at moderate pressure, and one pass at heavy pressure. And again, that's just off the spine, about an inch or so down the top line. Once I've done that, then I am going to start working on the neck area, so the cervical area here. And so I'm going to start with some jostling in that area. And any of my massage strokes, for the most part, I'm going to be doing again in a sequence of 3, so light, moderate, and heavy pressure. And then I'm going to palpate up the dorsal side of the neck up to the head, light, moderate, and heavy. Now on that heavy pass, I'm going to feel for any points that need to be treated. I'm going to treat that with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. Light, moderate, and heavy pressure, backing up to 0 in between each level of pressure. Then I'm going to do some compression in the cervical area. Light, moderate, and heavy. And whenever I do the compression, I'm going to either use my whole hand or the palm of my hand, or in some cases, if I don't have a lot of real estate, like I don't really on a bulldog's neck here, mostly my fingertips here. And then I'm going to palpate on the lateral side of the neck. On the heavy pass, feel for any points that need to be treated. Treat those with direct pressure. Light, moderate, and heavy for 10, 15, 20 seconds. I'm going to palpate down the neck, front of the shoulder area. Treat any points with direct pressure. Then I'm going to smooth out this neck area with the palm of my hand to close that out. Next, we're going to move to the area, the front portion of the shoulder. So here is Duncan's point of shoulder, and here's his spine, and so we're going to be working on this area right here. And we're going to start with some jostling. Light, moderate, heavy pressure. And then some percussion. Maybe turn a little bit. Percussion. Compression. And I'm going to use a zigzag stroke to find any points that need to be treated. And I'm going to treat those points with direct pressure. Light for 10 seconds, backing out to 0. 15 seconds, moderate pressure, backing out to 0. And then 20 seconds at heavy pressure. And then I'm going to use some cross fiber friction here. So I'm going to go against the muscle grain. I'm going to do it for about 10 seconds at the rhythm of the heartbeat. And I'm going to do some compression in this area to close that area out. Okay, now we're going to move on to the upper forelimb. So we've got his shoulder, or I'm sorry, his elbows right here, this point of shoulders right here. So we're going to be working on this area here, little tiny spot. So we're going to start with the deltoids with some compression. And then some backhanded compression on the triceps. And two-handed backhand compression, if they'll let me, on both of those muscles. Oh, thank you. Good job. All right, and then we're going to palpate a little bit of at an angle here between those muscles. And on the heavy pass, feel for any points that need to be treated. Treat those with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure. And then some two-handed backhand compression on that upper forelimb to close out that area. Then we're going to move on to the chest area. So we're going to do some percussion along the whole chest. And then we're going to do a cat paw, first on the right side here. Our cat paw, and then we're going to feel for any points that need to be treated. Treat those points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. Light, moderate, and heavy pressure. And then I'm going to use the cat paw stroke on the other side of the chest. Light, moderate, and heavy pressure. Feel for any points. Treat those points with direct pressure. And then some percussion along the whole chest to close that area out. Now, after working the chest, then we're going to come to this area that is kind of the thoracic area of the trapezius. So we've got our scapula right here, so we're going to be working here. And that is going to be just starting out with some compression. Light, moderate, and heavy pressure. Then I'm going to probe this area. Feel for any points of reactivity or tension, tightness, and treat those points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure. And then do some more compression in that area. Again, I don't have a lot of real estate here to close out that area. So after I've done this area right behind the shoulder area, then I'm going to do the elbow groove here. I'm going to do backhanded compression down the elbow groove, palpate, light, moderate, and heavy. And on that heavy pass, I'm going to feel for pressure points. Treat that with direct pressure. 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure, backing out to 0 in between each one. And then some backhanded compression down the elbow groove to close out that area. Then I'm going to move to the area just behind the elbow, a little rectangular area here, and I'm going to do some compression. It's not a very big area, so I'm mostly using my fingertips for compression right here. And then I'm going to trace 3 lines. So light, 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 and then across that area I'm going to do moderate, 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 and then on the heavy pass I'm going to find a point to treat on each line. Treat that with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure. Doing 1 point on each line, and then some compression to close out that area. Next, I'm going to move on to the pectoralis area here. So I'm going to do some, Duncan will let me, but do some percussion here on the lower chest area, and then some cat paw strokes of light, moderate, and heavy pressure to feel for any points that need to be treated. Treat any points with direct pressure. And some percussion again to close out that area. And then we're going to move to the lower forelimb. So we're going to start with some compression on the lower forelimb. So we've got his elbow here, his carpus here. So we're working on this area. And then I'm going to palpate down the center of the lower forelimb, light, moderate, and heavy pressure. On that heavy pass, I'll feel for any points that need to be worked. Treat those points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure, always backing up to 0 in between. And then I'm going to use two-handed compression to kind of spread apart these muscles a little bit. And then a gentle passive stretch all the way down that front forelimb. And then that has had us work the shoulders and the neck or cervical area and the forelimbs. So now we're going to move to the back area. So Duncan's scapula ends right here, and then his kidneys are right in about this area behind his rib cage. And so we're going to start by first palpating down from behind the scapula down to the tail, about an inch or so off the spine. I'm going to do that all the way to the tail. And then I'm going to do percussion in between this edge of the scapula and where the kidneys are. I'm going to cover them up with my hand just to make sure that I don't do percussion over that. That's the only stroke that we don't do over the kidneys. So I'm going to do some percussion, light, moderate, and heavy, in between this area behind the scapula and the kidneys. And then I'm going to do a friction back rub about 6 times. So I'm going to be generating friction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Generate some heat, really warm up those back muscles. And then I'm going to do some circles. So I'm going to do some large circles. It's just off the spine. Large circles at light pressure. Medium-sized circles at moderate pressure. And then small circles at heavy pressure. Then I'm going to use a zigzag stroke again, just off the spine, to feel for any points of tension along the spine. And wherever I feel a pressure point that needs to be worked, I'm going to treat that with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure, backing out to 0 between each one. And then I'm going to continue doing that zigzag and feeling for any pressure points until I get to the end of the back area. And then once I've done that, I am going to sweat the kidneys for 20 seconds. And sweating the kidneys, or the sweating technique, is basically just placing your hand lightly on the area and just gently holding it there for about 20 seconds. And then we're going to do percussion again from the edge of the scapula up to the kidneys, making sure we don't do percussion on the kidneys to close out that back area. Right. And then we're going to palpate down the rib cage, and we're going to just feel for any points of tension, any pressure points that need to be worked. Treat those points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure. Move about 3 finger widths down and repeat along the rib cage. 3 times with direct pressure. And then we're going to move on to the abdomen. We're going to do some gentle percussion on the abdomen. Again, we've already done this pectoral area, so we're just focusing on this abdominal area below the rib cage. And then we're going to do cat paw. Feel for any points that need to be worked. Treat any points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. And then do some more heavy, moderate to heavy percussion on the abdomen to close that area out. Right. So now we're going to move to the point of hip. So if you could turn for me, my love. Thank you. So Duncan's point of hip is right here. So we are going to first sweat the point of hip for 20 seconds. So again, just gently placing your hand on that area for 20 seconds. And then we're going to do some compression in front of the point of hip, light, moderate, and heavy. And I'm going to probe down and feel for any points of tension, any pressure points that need to be worked. Treat those points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. At light, moderate, and heavy pressure, backing up to 0 in between each level of pressure. Then I'm going to do some compression in front of that point of hip to close that area out. And then I'm going to work, so again, here's my point of hip, so then I'm going to work just behind the point of hip. And I'm going to do some percussion and a little bit of an arc just behind the point of hip. No. Come back. Come back. Good boy. Okay. So we're going to do some gentle percussion just behind that point of hip. And then I'm going to use a zigzag stroke. So I'm going to hook my thumb in the front of the point of hip and use the zigzag stroke to find any points just behind that point of hip that need to be worked. Treat those with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. And then do some more percussion. Thank you, honey. Thank you. To close out that area. Then I'm going to continue doing some percussion. I'm working on these gluteal muscles here. So some more percussion, light, moderate, and heavy. And then after the heavy pass, I'm going to do some zigzag strokes from the spine to the tail. And just feel for any points in the gluteal area that need to be worked. Treat those with direct pressure, light, moderate, and heavy for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. And then some more percussion in the gluteal area to close out those muscles. And then we're going to move to the inside of the upper hind leg, the inside thigh. We're going to do some percussion. And then some cat paw strokes. Feel for any points that need to be worked. Treat those points with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds at light, moderate, and heavy pressure. Backing up to 0 in between each one. And then some more percussion to close out the inside of the thigh. We're going to move to the semitendinosus area, so the back, the most caudal area of the upper rear leg. And we're going to do some backhand compression in the semitendinosus. And then I'm going to palpate in between the semitendinosus and the biceps femoris. On the heavy pass, I'm going to feel for any points that need to be worked. Treat those points with direct pressure. And do some backhand compression down the semitendinosus. Then I'm going to work on this lateral side of the upper rear hind leg. So I'm going to do some backhanded compression. First on the caudal side, and then on the cranial lateral side. Both. And I'm going to palpate down the middle, the lateral side of this upper hind limb. And on the heavy pass, I'm going to feel for any points that need to be worked. Treat those with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds, light, moderate, and heavy pressure. And then some more backhanded compression on this upper rear leg. Okay. And then I'm going to move to the stifle. So on the inside of the stifle, I'm going to do some cat paw strokes. Feel for any points that need to be worked and treat those with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. And then I'm just going to do backhand compression over this entire area. Close out this whole upper hind limb. Right, and then we're going to move on to the lower portion of the hind limb right here. So we're going to do some compression. So this is between the stifle and the hock. And then I'm going to palpate 2 lines on the lateral portion of the lower hind limb. Feel for any points that need to be treated with direct pressure for 10, 15, and 20 seconds. The other line down. Points. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the front leg, where I'm going to do 2-handed compression, but kind of spreading apart those muscles a little bit. And then I'm going to just kind of do a gentle passive stretch if you were laying totally on a side. Otherwise, just kind of stroking all the way down to the toes on this back limb. And then that is the end of that side. So then I would do a repeat of all of those different strokes on the opposite side. And then at the end of my session, I would just smooth out all those lines along the back, all those muscles, as just kind of a gentle closing. Thank my patient for allowing me to give them a massage today. And that is it. So thank you so much for watching. We look forward to your feedback, and thank you very much.